In the heart of the small, forgotten town of Ravenswood, nestled between dense forests and ancient hills, lay an eerie street known only as Blackthorn Lane. Legend whispered that those who dared to traverse its shadowy path would vanish without a trace, swallowed whole by the sinister depths of the night. No soul dared to venture into its darkness, for the tales told of those who crossed never returned. It was on a moonless night, when the air hung heavy with a foreboding silence, that Sarah, a curious and adventurous soul, found herself drawn to the mysterious Blackthorn Lane. With her heart pounding in her chest, she hesitated at its threshold, the inky abyss stretching out before her like a yawning maw. Ignoring the warnings that echoed in her mind, she stepped onto the desolate street, her footsteps muffled by the thick blanket of fog that clung to the ground. As Sarah pressed onward, the shadows seemed to shift and dance around her, whispering secrets that sent shivers down her spine. Every step felt heavier than the last, as if the very air itself sought to ensnare her within its grasp. She tried to turn back, but found herself unable to resist the allure of the unknown that lay ahead. Hours passed, though to Sarah, it felt like an eternity trapped within the confines of a nightmare. She stumbled blindly through the darkness, her mind consumed by a primal fear that threatened to consume her whole. The once familiar landmarks of Ravenswood faded into obscurity, replaced by a labyrinth of twisting alleys and crumbling facades. Just when Sarah thought she could bear no more, a faint glimmer of light appeared in the distance, beckoning her forth like a guiding beacon in the night. With renewed hope, she quickened her pace, her pulse racing in anticipation of what lay ahead. But as she drew closer, the light flickered and died, leaving her stranded in the suffocating embrace of darkness once more. Desperation clawed at Sarah's chest as she frantically searched for any sign of escape, but the streets offered nothing but silence and emptiness. With each passing moment, the realization began to dawn upon her that she was truly alone, trapped in a nightmare from which there could be no awakening. Days turned into weeks, and still, Sarah wandered aimlessly through the labyrinthine streets of Blackthorn Lane, her mind slowly unraveling with each passing moment. She saw things that defied reason, grotesque shapes lurking in the shadows, eyes that glimmered with an otherworldly malevolence. Yet, no matter how far she roamed, there was no escape from the darkness that threatened to consume her whole. In the depths of her despair, Sarah began to hear voices whispering to her from the shadows, their words a twisted symphony of madness and despair. They spoke of ancient horrors that lurked just beyond the veil of reality, waiting to claim her soul for eternity. And though she tried to resist their siren call, she found herself inexorably drawn towards the heart of the darkness that lay at the heart of Blackthorn Lane. It was there, in the shadowed depths of an ancient cemetery, that Sarah finally came face to face with the true horror that lurked within the heart of Ravenswood. A creature of nightmare and shadow, its form twisting and contorting with every step it took towards her. Its eyes burned with a hunger that sent a chill down Sarah's spine, as she realized with dawning horror the true fate that awaited her. But even as the darkness closed in around her, Sarah refused to surrender to despair. With a strength born of desperation, she reached deep within herself and unleashed a primal scream that shattered the suffocating silence of the night. And in that moment, the shadows recoiled in terror, as if repelled by the sheer force of her will. With every ounce of strength she possessed, Sarah fled from the darkness that sought to claim her, her heart pounding in her chest as she raced towards the light that beckoned her forth. And though the shadows pursued her relentlessly, she refused to give in to the despair that threatened to consume her whole. At long last, Sarah emerged from the depths of Blackthorn Lane, her body battered and broken, but her spirit unbroken. She stumbled blindly through the streets of Ravenswood, her mind reeling from the horrors she had witnessed, but she knew that she had faced the darkness and emerged victorious. For though the streets of Blackthorn Lane may forever remain shrouded in mystery and dread, Sarah had proven that even in the darkest of nights, there is always a glimmer of hope to be found amidst the shadows. And though she may bear the scars of her ordeal for the rest of her days, she would never forget the lessons she had learned in the heart of the darkness.
Willow Street was like any other street in the small town of Briarwood. Lined with quaint houses and old trees, it had an air of serenity during the day. But as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the cobblestone pavement, the street seemed to transform into something sinister, something out of a nightmare. The locals whispered about the street's dark history, tales of inexplicable happenings and sightings of shadowy figures lurking in the shadows. Most dismissed these stories as nothing more than urban legends, but there were those who believed that something malevolent dwelled within the depths of Willow Street. One fateful night, a group of friends decided to put the legends to the test. Armed with nothing but a camera and their courage, they set out to uncover the truth behind the eerie tales that plagued Willow Street. As they walked down the deserted street, the air grew thick with tension. The only sound was the faint rustle of leaves in the wind. With each step, the feeling of unease gnawed at their insides, but they pressed on, determined to capture evidence of the supernatural. Suddenly, a chill swept through the air, sending shivers down their spines. They could sense that they were not alone. Flickering streetlights cast eerie shadows on the pavement, distorting reality into a twisted nightmare. Then, they saw it. A figure standing in the darkness, its form barely discernible against the night. The friends froze, their hearts pounding in their chests. With trembling hands, they raised the camera, hoping to capture proof of the entity's existence. But as they focused their lens on the figure, it seemed to dissolve into the shadows, vanishing into thin air. Panic gripped them as they realized they were face to face with something beyond their understanding, something that defied logic and reason. Desperate to escape the terror that enveloped them, they turned to flee, but they soon discovered that they were trapped within Willow Street's malevolent grasp. The once familiar surroundings had become a labyrinth of twisting alleyways and dead-end streets, each turn leading them deeper into the darkness. Their only hope lay in the footage they had captured, evidence that could prove the existence of the supernatural and perhaps offer a glimpse into the true nature of Willow Street's curse. But as they reviewed the footage, they were met with a chilling revelation. In the background of every frame lurked a shadowy figure, its eyes gleaming with malevolence. It was as if the entity had been watching them all along, waiting for the perfect moment to reveal itself. Terrified and on the brink of madness, the friends knew they had to escape Willow Street before it consumed them entirely. With trembling hands, they uploaded the footage to the internet, hoping that someone, anyone, would heed their warning and avoid the cursed street at all costs. But as the sun rose on a new day, Willow Street remained unchanged, its secrets hidden within the darkness, waiting for the next unsuspecting soul to wander into its grasp. And as the footage spread like wildfire across the internet, so too did the legend of Willow Street, a place where nightmares became reality and the line between the living and the dead blurred into oblivion.